lineup, knowing that those are two big hitters.
And we are underway in Tallahassee. Allison Royalty gets the start for the Noles.
Yeah, it was a big learning curve last season, but she picked up critical innings for the Noles last year. Gets her 10th start here in today's game.
Royalty is senior from Texas, who played a couple of years at Arizona State before coming east. And there are a look at her numbers. Not a whole lot of innings. Walk to strikeout ratio is not overwhelming, and you see the defense for Florida State, Beauchamp at third and Ross at first, and really the whole infield pinching in on Kendra Falby.
Well, the reason that they are pinching so tight is because of how fast Falby is up here at the plate.
Gets to Torres, who has to hurry and does just that. It is an all-true freshman left side of the infield for Florida State, and they are terrific with Issa Torres at short and Beauchamp at third. And not only are they hitting the heck out of the ball, they're playing solid in the field.
Their defense has stepped up and has been able to play well behind the pitchers in the circle who have taken some time to figure out their rhythm. Reminding you that Kat Sandercock no longer in the circle for Florida State. And because of that, it's taken some time for the pitchers in the circle to be able to figure out where they fit, knowing that Kat Sandercock threw almost 50% of the innings last season.
A couple of true freshmen have figured prominently as well. And here is Corby Otis, who is leading the entire SEC in batting average. The Louisville transfer has been absolutely terrific.
Yeah, she has the 5th most walks in the country as well. So while she is a good hitter, she's very patient and selective on the zone.
Otis fouls it back. He was also an incredible student athlete. She wants to be a cardiothoracic surgeon. And Tim Walton has had to move practices, he says, really to accommodate her incredible academic load. Waiting on that one. Taken on the in-between hop nicely by Torres. A very impressive play.
Well, the only way that you make that play cleanly is by being aggressive, moving forward. Shortstops don't always have the luxury in our game to be able to sit back and play a nice, easy hop. With how much speed was going down the line, she had to aggressively move forward through that, get the pick, and a good solid throw to get the out.
For Skylar Wallace, which is always a good thing for opponents. Wallace last year, SEC Player of the Year, picked up some national recognition as well. Numbers down a little bit, but still very impressive for the grad student.
I thought it was hilarious when we talked to Coach Tim Walton about Skylar Wallace and how important she was to this lineup last year. He said, wasn't it Obi-Wan Kenobi that said, or it was actually Princess Leia that said, "You're our only hope"? He said she was our one-hit wonder last year. Because of that, she took the team on her back and tried to carry them as deep into the postseason as she could. Her numbers are not as high as they were last year. She hit .447 on the season last year. Right now coming in with a .371 batting average.
Good look at Tim Walton, now in his 19th season at Florida. 1-2 pitch from Royalty to Watts. That is foul down the first baseline. More help now around Wallace, as you mentioned.
When Skylar Wallace is not just important at the plate, she is important defensively. She has the most runs saved by a shortstop in the country. She is important on both sides of the ball as she sits here in the 3rd spot in the lineup.
Another 1-2 pitch on the way. Off the plate, Katie Dack back behind the plate doing the catching for Florida State.
We talk about speed at the top of the lineup, while Falby and Otis are both very fast. Wallace has the most stolen bases per game in the SEC.
That one went inside.
You already mentioned it, Pam. The walk numbers by Allison Royalty are a little bit higher than you'd like to see. She's got 34 strikeouts on the year, but that is her 21st free pass given up on the season.
Out walk to Wallace, and now Jocelyn Erickson leading this team in runs driven in. Played at Oklahoma last year when she was a freshman.
Well, and Royalty steps in, thrown in the mid-60s. She's got a rise and a drop. Those are her go-to pitches that create that vertical movement, but also has a trusted changeup she'll throw in any count.
0-1 is upstairs. Jocelyn Erickson mostly played first base for Oklahoma last year. Wanted an opportunity to be a catcher, and she has been a very good one. And the offensive numbers certainly are showing.
And when you think about it, Pam, last season, Jocelyn Erickson was at Oklahoma sitting behind Kinsey Hansen. She knew there were not going to be a ton of opportunities for her to catch. She is a fabulous catcher, but when you ask Tim Walton, he says he thinks that she is the best first baseman in the entire country.
Playing catcher now. Tapped foul.
Yeah, Erickson has been so important for them. She has the most RBI in SEC play, and back behind the dish, we're talking about how important she is back there behind the dish. She's only allowed 7 stolen bases on the entire year. She's thrown out 6.
2-2 with Wallace over at first.
I like the way that Royalty is keeping this ball on the corners. She's not leaving it big over the plate. She has had times of those kinds of pitches in her career, but right now just spinning the ball and keeping it in on the hands of Erickson.
Sorry, Erickson is coming in red hot. 2-2. Gets past Flaherty, and Wallace, who runs really well, gets to third easily. So after the first 2 were retired on ground balls, a walk, and now a single.
And that's what Florida has been so good at, is just capitalizing on opportunities, knowing that there is so much speed at the top of the lineup. Wallace did not even hesitate. As soon as that ball got past second base, she did not trail the ball with her eyes. She knew that it was third and nothing less.
Now the reigning SEC Player of the Week, Reagan Walsh, the DP. It was fantastic last week. 4 RBIs, a couple of home runs. 4th different Gator to win Player of the Week this year, which shows you the non-Obi-Wan Kenobi Gators this year. They rely on a lot of different players. Waited on it, chopped it foul past Tim Walton.
So is this the Rebel Alliance? Is that what we're going to call this attack this year?
It depends on if you're a Gator fan or a Seminole fan.
Good point. Yeah, but Reagan Walsh, she's got the 2nd most home runs in the SEC and also the best slugging percentage in the SEC. That slug is sitting at .851.
1-1. Back held on to it for an extra second, but Anthony Small called for the ball.
And these Seminole fans are going to let you know exactly what they think, and I think they think everything is a strike. Gotta love a fan base that shows up the way that these Seminole fans do.
2-1. That's a strike. Now a full count with runners on the corners and 2 away.
And an advancement on the throw back to the pitcher. Royalty did not even mess with Erickson advancing to second, so now 2 runners in scoring position.
Full count, 2 away. And another foul ball.
Well, I like that change of speed. That's exactly what you have to do to try to get a hitter that has seen the ball as well as Reagan Walsh out. You have to disrupt your timing, and with that barrel way out ahead, it's just a simple foul ball and keeps the at-bat alive.
Already 26 pitches thrown in this inning by Royalty. Was rolling along quite nicely with a couple of ground ball outs. The heart of the lineup doing some damage so far, trying to get somebody home, and that'll do it. Walsh gets into left field, and then the throw gets away in the infield. Florida is able to plate 2.
Well, this is a simple punch out to the outfield to the steady Kaylee Mudge out there in left field. This is a base hit, which extends Reagan Walsh's on-game base streak to 19 games in a row. It's a simple base hit, and Mudge is trying to prevent an advancement at second base. I don't know if she forgot.
So a very rare error indeed to Mudge. So rare, in fact, that is her first error of the season.
Yeah, definitely not the MO for Mudge out there in left.
So 2 runs in now for Ava Brown, who does some pitching and also playing first base tonight. That's caught in the sun by Kerr. But the damage has been done, all with 2 outs. 2 runs come in to score. Florida State coming up. Really Mudge going to lead things off after a very rare error, and then Jason Beauchamp may be the national freshman of the year.
I think that she is putting up the kind of numbers that definitely put her in that top 3 for sure. And right now she sits as the freshman RBI leader, beating Sid Sherrill's freshman RBI numbers just this last weekend.
Now Mudge steps in against Keegan Rothrock, one of the youngsters on this Florida pitching staff. She's won 20 games.
And Rothrock, the ace on the staff, the only pitcher to not throw against Florida State last week.
Mudge goes after the first pitch. Kistler fighting the sun, looks up, and it's off her throat. Mudge running hard all the way, gets into third, standing up.
Pam, anytime I made an error in the field, I tell you what, I was so focused when I came to bat the very next inning, knowing that I made a mistake in the last half inning. And with Mudge at the plate, she's not known for a ton of power, but this ball is brought back into the yard by the right fielder, Katie. So not a home run, a triple for Mudge.
4th triple of the year for Mudge. Kistler had a couple of errors last week in Gainesville. That was a great effort to try to keep the ball in the ballpark. But now Beauchamp is up with a couple of bases empty. Can I just tell you, I would not throw to her.
No, Beauchamp is seeing the ball so well right now. To be able to give Beauchamp first base and not the opportunity for the long ball, it's an important thing. But Rothrock's not afraid of her. She's going to go right at her. Beauchamp is one of those hitters, as a freshman, not a ton of tape on her yet, not a huge scouting report to be able to know where her weaknesses are.
7 home runs in her last 10 games, taking all the way on a 3-0 count as that drops in. So you have the freshman pitcher against the freshman batter. Beauchamp 8th in the nation, hitting .447 on the season. Gets a hold of it and sends it towards the fire trucks. They threw to her, and on a 3-1 pitch, Beauchamp made him pay.
Well, Pam, you asked, would you throw to Beauchamp?
No.
Why would you throw to Beauchamp when you know you've got 2 bases available? This player right now is en fuego. The ball is jumping off her bat, and Rothrock makes a big mistake down the heart of the plate. Beauchamp does not let mistakes go by. That one is absolutely demolished. I wonder if we can see.
Special player she is. Listed at 5'3", she's now got 15 home runs and 61 runs driven in. And with one swing of the bat, it's all tied up. Still nobody out for Kaylee Harding. We got to a 3-0 count on Beauchamp. You figure, okay, they're gonna give her a little freebie, and then they threw it to her on 3-1, and it went a long way.
And Pam, you usually call that a cookie because that thing was left so big down the heart of the plate. It was an absolute mistake. That is not a pitch that Rothrock typically throws. She's good at finding corners, but that one got left really big and she had to pay.
Kaylee Harding, who is hitting .485 in ACC games. Senior from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The seniors were all celebrated last weekend in their series sweep against North Carolina. What a class it has been. They were World Series runners-up last year to Oklahoma.
Nice curveball spin on that pitch as it cuts across the plate. And if she can start that pitch over the heart of the plate and get it to move like that, she's going to get more swing and misses on that beautiful curve.
Erickson throws down to complete the strikeout. First out of the inning for Florida State. Now Florida State with not one but two terrific freshmen in their starting lineup. Here's the other one, Issa Torres, who in her last 23 games is hitting .418.
And who were the two players to hit home runs in the matchup last week against Florida? Oh, that's right, Jason Beauchamp and Issa Torres.
Both of them with 3-run home runs in that 12-run fifth inning.
And those foul balls straight back tell you that the timing is perfect for these hitters right now. With those, as soon as you are able to swing straight through a ball and it goes straight back, it means you just missed your contact point. So in the circle, Keegan Rothrock, she can throw with a ton of velocity, but she's very good at throwing multiple speeds, change up, off speed, and change her pitches to just take a couple miles an hour off of it. There it is, that ball up in the zone. She's so good at that off-speed rise. And as it changes speed, your timing is off as a hitter, and your timing is maybe the most critical piece of your swing. So if you're not able to dig in against velocity, you've got to be ready for anything.
2-2 taken the opposite way. Great hit by Torres. Takes the wide turn, but a good throw in by Otis holds her to a one-out single.
And that's just a very mature at-bat by Issa Torres. She was swinging pretty big early on in the count, but as she was falling deeper behind with strikes, she shortened up, took that ball on the outside part of the plate and just punched it into the outfield. Did not have a huge follow-through on the end, knowing that she needed to go the other way. Very mature at-bat for the freshman.
Veteran second baseman for Florida State. Had been leading off for a lot of her career, but Lonnie Alameda has dropped her down in the lineup this season with Mudge now in the leadoff.
When we talk about the multiple speeds that Keegan Rothrock is able to throw with, she throws about 3 different speeds. Her rise ball has the lowest of all of her pitches in batting average. Hitters just coming in at about 145 on that rise ball. But when she throws her true changeup, hitters are hitting 367. So I think it's in her head that she needs to be careful with that off speed.
1-1 misses. Harding, not much of a base stealing threat, 2 for 2 on the season. As you mentioned, not a lot of people want to run on Erickson. Sorry, Torres over on first, pardon me, is 2 for 2.
And Devin Flaherty got off to a pretty slow start as Jocelyn Erickson goes out to visit the circle and talk to her pitcher, Keegan Rothrock. Devin Flaherty, as she steps into the box, the beginning of the year was pretty slow for her. Her first 27 games, she was hitting just 207. But in the last 23 games of the season, she has hit 469. I mean, this is a hitter who has figured out how to be postseason prominent.
Now she gets a chance to look at a 3-1 pitch with Torres over on first base. Let it go. 2 on now for Edenfield. Michaela Edenfield, who broke her finger in the Louisville series in a moment of frustration after an at-bat that she was not pleased with. Was not caught. I'm not sure when she will catch, if she will catch, but she's done all right.
Yeah, she had surgery right after that incident and has been able to be back in the lineup since the weekend against North Carolina.
Got a hit in her very first at-bat against Carolina. Home run later in the series. And very prominent. You see that right index finger all taped up, the hole in the batting glove.
Well, Michaela Edenfield is one of those hitters who you have to be scared of in the lineup because of her home run potential. But she has never finished a season up hitting above 300. But this year has figured it out. She's at 404 at the moment.
Still has another year left. But goes down swinging. Second strikeout of the inning for Rothrock.
Well, that swing happens because of the pitch before that got called a strike on the outside part of the plate. And she wanted to protect, but good movement away from Edenfield gets the swing and miss.
Up to Janai Kerr, 2 on, 2 out. Kerr, the center fielder. And 336 on the season, missed 7 games earlier on with some injuries. Pops it up. Kawaluski able to camp under it and strand 2, but Jason Beauchamp strikes again.
Yeah, when it comes to the long
in which they engage, it's always intriguing. Florida leads the all-time series. However, Florida State has won the last 6, including last week. 12-3 run rule, all 12 runs coming in that 5th inning. And what a matchup. As you see the bottom line there, both of these teams are outright raking it this year.
Yeah, and when it comes to these two teams at the plate, they both know how to hit. It's defense and pitching that are sometimes the question marks for these two squads.
Katie Kistler leading things off here for Florida. Pam Ward and Jenny Dalton-Hill joining you on a very pleasant Wednesday evening in Tallahassee. Kistler had a couple of costly errors in that loss to Florida State last week. Coach Walton told us today that this kid is just at her best. Just go out there and play ball. Got off to a hot start. Started to press a little bit. Says he's seen some good things from her lately.
When she stepped up when Otis and Wallace were not rolling at the beginning of the season, and because of that, she's earned her way into being an everyday starter, knowing that she's got that potential to just be steady Eddie in the lineup.
Sends it into the air. Kerr lifts over in center for the first out of the 2nd inning. Back for a very good center fielder out there. Allison Royalty in the circle. Ariel Kawaluski, who is the freshman third baseman. A lot of freshmen in this lineup for Tim Walton. Last year was a down year for them. A sub-500 record in the SEC, which is very unusual, certainly. And Tim admitted to us, he said it's one of the worst years of his coaching career at Florida. Not a pleasant one at all.
Yeah, they lost 13 players and lost all 5 pitchers out of the pen. 11 new faces now on campus for them, 7 of them being freshmen. And those freshmen have come forward, putting up some big numbers, helping out there in the middle, Skylar Wallace, who last year put the team on her back and tried to carry them.
He certainly is very pleased with this squad. He should be. They've already won 39 games. Florida State has won 40. So good results, looking for some big things. They have a great RPI. And they are on pace to have the best offensive numbers in Florida history as Kawaluski draws the one-out walk.
And that there, Pam, is the first walk of the game. Earlier in the game, we verbalized that it was a Skylar Wallace walk, but it actually was a hit by pitch. So that the first walk given up by Royalty here today.
Very subtle hit by pitch. Williams gets down the bunt. Royalty has one play, and it's dropped over there at first base by Ross. So everybody's safe.
These are uncharacteristic errors made by the stalwarts in this Florida State lineup. The Kaylee Mudge play out there in left, you said first error of the season for her. And this one made by the first baseman. Not expected to see Amaya Ross allow that ball to deflect off the leather in a position to score again.
The run is on the corners, and that is off the glove of Flaherty. What is going on as the run scores?
This looks a lot like the 5th inning for Florida last weekend, or last week, last Wednesday. Errors, base hits, big bombs. I mean, these are routine outs on typical days for Florida State, but it seems like they're playing a little bit tight, looking towards the next play before.
So Falby got that bunt, or Williams got over on the bunt, and then an error actually was charged to the pitcher on the Williams attempt, and now an error on the second baseman Flaherty for not catching that ball in the air, and Lonnie Alameda is going to come out and gather everybody together.
I like this, just bringing everyone together, calming down the emotions. And you wonder if these seniors playing here today are thinking about, could this be the last time I'm playing at Joanne Graff Stadium? Those emotions are real. They're heavy. They're hard to deal with. And when you put that kind of pressure on yourself, you make uncharacteristic errors. And that's what Florida State is doing here at this time. These are not the kinds of defensive miscues that we're used to seeing for Florida State.
Lonnie Alameda, NFCA Hall of Fame inductee last year. Jim Walton going in with the 2024 class. 3 errors for Florida State, and that pitch got away from Dak.
Remember Katie Dak taking the place of Michaela Edenfield, who broke her finger about 2 weeks ago in their series against Louisville. Dak is a very good catcher, but she's had to take on the brunt of the responsibility of that situation that happened.
Very dangerous hitter in Corby Otis. Royalty sails another pitch high. Otis at the plate, Wallace on deck. The heart of this lineup for Florida. Rio dropped in with Otis taking all the way. Not see any activity in the Florida State bullpen. Three-one, took a little off of it and walked her. Second walk surrendered by Royalty. And here comes Lonnie Alameda.
And with her second visit to the circle, it will require a pitching change.
With Skylar Wallace coming up with the bases loaded, we will have a new pitcher for Florida State. They're back now at Florida State. The bases are loaded for Skylar Wallace, and Lonnie Alameda has lifted starter Allison Royalty. Here comes true freshman Ashton Danley.
And Danley in the circle was one of the top recruits in the country and has become a trusted pitcher for Florida State this season. She's only allowed a handful of earned runs in her last 14 appearances. And she's been so important to this lineup, coming in from the left side, which gives a much different look out of the circle for Florida State.
Danley leading the team with 15 wins. Pitched 1 inning of relief last week at Florida. Gave up a run, had a couple of wild pitches, and right now, bases are loaded, a run in, and just 1 out for Skylar Wallace with Jocelyn Erickson on deck. Got 2 walks and 2 Florida State errors, a run already in.
When it comes to Danley, she's got 15 wins on the season, but look at how many appearances she's got. To be able to be trusted like that, she has the most innings on staff. She is the most trusted arm in the circle. But in this situation right here, she's putting herself in a big hole. When you've got a hitter like Skylar Wallace up to the plate, you've got to give competitive pitches. And so far, these 2 that she's thrown to start off are not even tunneling correctly. So it's not even going to get a swing and a miss as they start out of the zone.
Drops in a strike. What a position for Danley You already mentioned it, Catherine Sandercock, who was an all-everything pitcher here for so many years for Florida State, graduating and moving on. A baptism by fire for all of these pitchers for Florida State. Danley having trouble finding a strike zone.
And Danley does have 41 walks on the season, but this is a hitter you have to dance around. You cannot go right at the plate with the hitter like Wallace, knowing that she's got bases juiced.
3-1. Hits it to Ross, who doesn't throw home. Instead, tags Wallace for the second out, but it allowed Williams to score.
Well, in that situation, you would expect that throw, because it got to Ross so quickly, that she could just dish this ball to Dak and get the force at home and prevent the advancement. And this now makes it a pretty difficult situation. Without a runner on first base, everyone else is going to have to be tagged to be out. So the only force play you have is over there at first.
And we'll see how they approach the Erickson at bat. Starts her off speed, but it appeared that Ross had plenty of time to throw home to Dak to get the force out. So not an error, but certainly I would think a mental error there. Erickson singled and scored her first at bat.
And when you think about the kind of potential that Erickson has at the plate, she's got 10 home runs on the year, but she had game-winning home runs at Georgia and Mississippi State this season. So you have to be so careful around Erickson in the box.
Honey Alameda coming out to have a talk with our home plate umpire, Anthony Small.
Just making sure that she puts Danley in the right position in the batting order, or in the lineup. Excuse me, Danley is not a hitter. You wonder, is that some gamesmanship to try to ice Jocelyn Erickson in the box, or is this truly a situation that needed to be remedied right here in that moment?
1-1 pitch to Erickson. Ollie at third, Otis at second. Couple of runs already in. It has already been a very wild and eventful game, and we're only in the top of the second inning. Two. Erickson pops it up. Chance for Dak. Grabs it to end the inning. But two more come across for Florida. They lead it 4-2. Florida just scored a couple of runs in the top of the second inning without getting a hit. There were a couple more errors for Florida State. Young fan celebrating a birthday that she hopes ends up a little bit better than what they've seen so far. Jenny. Wow.
I'm expecting to see tighter defense than what we've seen here tonight, but we've already had a couple of big blasts, some good defensive plays, bringing balls back into the yard. But yeah, those miscues by Florida State, completely unanticipated.
Already 3 errors for them. They only scored, or had committed 39 errors, pardon me, all season. And already with 3 in the first couple of innings. Katie Dak leading things off for first time at the plate against freshman Keegan Rothrock. Second year at Florida State. It was at Texas A&M, where she was second team all SEC a couple of years ago. Back doing the everyday catching duties now since the Louisville series. About 4 weeks ago when Edenfield got hurt. There is Michaela, able to go out there and get some hitting in despite that broken finger.
Well, they're so excited to be able to have her back just to hit. Her bat is so important in the lineup, and it was just a moment of frustration. She slammed her helmet down, got her finger stuck, and it actually broke. Had to have surgery to be able to repair the break. Once those stitches were healed up, they were able to tape it up and give her a couple of days of practice to swing. Coach Alameda said, oh, big strikeout to Dak. I thought she took the walk, but it was a late call to get the strikeout. Huge pitch right there to start off the inning. This ball at the bottom of the zone nips the knee. Beautiful pitch by Rothrock, and that's the kind of response you need out of your pitcher in the circle after a big inning.
You're right, that was a perfect pitch by the freshman to get Dak. Now Maya Ross, the first baseman, batting in the 9th spot for the Noles. We're out of Jacksonville. Sends that into right field. Kistler off the wall. And Ross, who runs like the wind, is going home. Should have stopped at third, but she's still able to slide in.
Amaya Ross has been a pinch runner for multiple seasons. The first 2 years of her career, she has just been the speed on the bases. She is so crazy fast, and now a starter has surpassed her hits, her RBI, and her home run numbers from her last 2 seasons combined. With this ball off the wall, Travis Wilson over there at third thought maybe he had the potential of letting Ross go all the way home, but a heads-up base runner, huge for Florida State as they turn over the lineup.
Yeah, Maya Ross really is a study in perseverance. As you mentioned, she's a very good pinch runner, only had 18 starts her first couple of years. And this season as an everyday player, first in the league in stolen bases and runs, and now second in triples. That includes the one that we just saw from Ross.
Yeah, how often have you seen an inside the park home run? That had the potential to be one. She did not hesitate around the bases. She took off right out of the box. But out there in right field, Katie Kistler able to respond quick enough to get that ball in and prevent the score. But with Kaylee Mudge up, you can't take a breath because she actually hit one to the exact same spot in her last at-bat that almost left the yard.
Mudge also with the triple and then scored on Beauchamp's 2-run home run. Beauchamp is on deck. Mudge committed her first error of the season in the top of the first inning, and you talked about wanting redemption, right? When you make a mistake in the field, and boy, did she ever do that by hitting a triple as soon as she came up. Erickson, terrific stop.
She is so athletic behind the dish. We've seen her save balls out of the sky when the rise balls have gotten away from the pitchers, and they're able to move so well laterally to keep this ball from getting back behind her and prevents the run.
You know, Ross chomping at the bit to try to get home. 2-0. Mudge sends it into center. This should be, or left center, should be deep enough for Ross to score. Close play after the good throw by Otis, but Ross comes in on the RBI sac fly for Mudge.
And it is so important to play this game with your eyes up. Sometimes as a hitter, you can get locked into just trying to be the hero and hit the home run, but in that situation, Florida State needed the run, and a deep fly ball got it done in that situation. Mudge, a very heads-up batter, able to push another run across.
Now the always dangerous Jason Beauchamp, who hit a 2-run home run after Mudge tripled in the first, and Florida elected to pitch to her. And she hit her 15th home run.
So, Pam, the question is, with all 3 bases open, do you pitch to Jason E. Beauchamp?
Harding on deck. I would not.
Well, and it doesn't look like Rothrock wants to either, knowing that if she does not keep the ball in the river on the outside or deep on the hands of Beauchamp, she's going to pay. Beautiful change of speed. That's another way you attack Beauchamp. But Beauchamp has been so good at just staying in her legs, going the other way. I mean, she has all the tools that you look for in a veteran hitter, and this just her freshman year for Florida State.
That hitter.
Actually, it hit the knob of the bat, so it's a foul ball, Pam, and she'll have to come back into the box. So as the ball comes in, she does not wear it. It hits that knob right underneath her hands. And an honest player stays in the box knowing that she didn't wear it.
I think she'd rather swing away.
Oh, definitely.
Get the first that way, but that one's way upstairs, a full count.
When I played, I would get out of every ball that was about to hit me because I knew I was way more dangerous in the box than I was standing on the bases by myself.
Beauchamp hits it over to Wallace. Low throw, handled nicely by Brown to retire Beauchamp, but a triple and a sac fly gets another run in.
Up to a tough defensive showing for the Seminoles.
Now a couple of errors. Florida State able to get 1 run back in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Second matchup between these 2 rivals. Tim Walton says that they are scheduled to only play each other once next year when we have the huge conference expansions and realignments all across the country. Reagan Walsh had an RBI single her first time up, off Allison Royalty, who was lifted in the 2nd inning for Danley.
And Danley gives a much different look. I like the way that they've gone to her. Allison Royalty throwing from the right side in the low 60s. Danley coming in, same velocity, but other side with curve and drop.
Allison Royalty, who started the game. Megan Walsh with that RBI single last time up has now extended her on-base streak to 19 straight games and has a 9-game hitting streak. And Walton said this is the most dynamic team he has coached since, what he said, 2011, which I think was Hannah Rogers' freshman year.
Well, this Florida team is looking to break records that were set back in 2010 offensively.
They're 8th in the nation in average, leading the SEC both in batting average and runs per game. They also lead with 90 doubles, which is 2nd in the nation. And who led the nation in doubles last year?
Florida State.
That's right, with over 100. This year, the Noles are in the top 10, leading the ACC with 88 doubles, which is 5th in the nation heading into play today. Nobody sitting on the bench. Everybody up. On a full count pitch to Walsh. Leadoff walk.
And walks is something that both of these teams and both of these pitching staffs have actually had a more difficult time with this year. The free passes have opened up opportunities for other teams to be able to put more runs on the board because of the runners that they've been allowing to get on with that lack of discipline in competitive pitches at the plate.
Ava Brown jumps on the first pitch she sees and sends a solid single to the left.
When we talked to Tim Walton about the pitchers and free passes, his philosophy was, I don't care about free passes. I care about what happens after you give up the walk or the hit by pitch. If you give up a home run, that's a problem. But if you roll me a double play, I give you a high five. So it's all about how you respond after the free pass.
Whistler tries to get a bunt down. Coach saying he doesn't want to put too much of an emphasis on that, particularly with such a young and inexperienced pitching staff.
Well, and the same holds true for Florida State. About 43% of their innings have been thrown by freshmen this season. 73% by sophomores and below. So you're looking at two teams with a ton of young talent in the circle that maybe isn't as seasoned as it needs to be under these pressure-filled situations.
There's a stray and Kistler waved through. 50 miles an hour on that pitch.
It's just nasty, Pam. To be able to step in there and throw just something so filthy like that. And I see it through a hitter's eyes. I used to feel like, I think I might need to go to the chiropractor with how hard I just swung and missed at that pitch.
Kistler behind 1-2 with 2 on and nobody out. Got her again.
That's just dirty. Just dirty. That pitch is absolute nastiness. As it comes in, this tight spin is what makes you think that it's spinning hard. And with that drop and curve combination, those 3 pitches tunnel pretty well. And at the bottom of the zone, it looks like it's going to stay at the knees, and then the bottom just falls out.
First strikeout for Danley, who gets Pawlowski to swing and miss.
Well, if Danley's going to be able to throw that pitch with that kind of accuracy and precision across the plate, as a hitter, you have to decide, do I want to hit velocity or do I want to hit the off speed and come to the plate with a plan?
Pawlowski walked and scored in the 2-run second inning, in which Florida scored without getting a base hit. Another true freshman in this lineup.
And that's why the changeup is so dirty, because then she comes back at you with velocity and your toe toucher stride has not gotten down in time because you're used to that slower pitch. When you face a pitcher like Danley, you've got to stride like it's a fastball every single time and adjust in your legs to be able to hit the slower velocity.
Went upstairs that time.
And it was upstairs, but it wasn't full velocity, Pam. She is taking stuff off these pitches, spinning the ball, making it move. I mean, a pitch that wiggles is hard enough, but then you just pull the string up in the zone. Are you kidding me? Typically, you like to see a changeup down at the knees, but she throws the changeup at the letters and gets the swing and miss strikeout.
Back-to-back strikeouts after a walk and a single to start the inning. Now Mia Williams. Chance for Torres to get him out of the inning. Stranding a couple. When we come back, we'll have a chance to chat with Tim Walton.
Implications. What is it that this team needs to do to be able to push for a deep postseason?
Yeah, we're going to make a good run. I think we've been tested. I think the schedule was set up really well in regards to how we went about our way with our younger players and how we brought around our older players leadership-wise. And so I just think we're gonna finish strong. I'm really happy with where we're at. I'm really happy with the way we've been competing. We got to pitch a little bit better, play better defense at times, and the situation will hit a little bit better. But that's the name of the game postseason-wise. Who can get more hits with 2 outs and 2 strikes?
All right, Tim, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Go Gators.
Yeah, Tim Walton, had a really nice conversation with him earlier today, and he really said that about his team. With so many new players, so many freshmen, he says he really believes the best is yet to come for this squad.
Yeah, he says this team has not been able to play clicking on all cylinders, and because of that, they've just had moments where they've left things on the table. And what he just said right there was you have to be able to produce hits with 2 strikes and 2 outs and base runners on to be able to, or to expect to make deep postseason runs. You have to hit with runners in scoring position. You have to pass the bat. Yes, they're young, but this is a young team that is so talented, the #1 recruiting class in the country on the field at the moment.
Haley Harding takes a charge into that one and just clears the fence. Harding with a line drive, home run, ties it up.
Kaylee Harding is a player who stepped into the offseason wanting to be more strategic. By doing so in the offseason, she was able to not retool herself, but make her mechanics more sound. This pitch didn't get above 20 feet all year.
And for the second time tonight, Florida State has come back from a 2-run deficit to tie the game. And here's one of their great freshmen, Torres, just foul down the left field line. She's singled in her first at bat. Well, between these two teams, look at this freshman we have.
I think it's scary when you graduate big names in a program, not knowing what your freshmen are going to be able to produce when they step under the lights and in front of the crowd. But Issa Torres has filled the shoes of Josie Muffley defensively and is swinging a bat that is so powerful at the plate that she becomes dangerous to pitch to, just like the other freshman, Jason E. Beauchamp.
Well, she and Beauchamp, a top 25 finalist for the NFCA National Freshman of the Year. There's Beauchamp. Always seems to have a smile on her face in the dugout.
She bounces around. She just brings joy everywhere she goes. She's one of those players that you gravitate towards because of the energy that she brings.
Torres, nice play by Wallace.
And Wallace is just so steady over there at shortstop. Love the way that she attacks those ground balls on the left side of the infield with a strong throw across the diamond.
And Devin Flaherty, the veteran second baseman, walked in her first at bat and was stranded back in the first inning.
And Flaherty's one of those players that has always had a good eye at the plate. Walked in her last at bat and only has 4 strikeouts on the year.
Ground ball this time to Williams. Good response by the freshman Rothrock in the circle after giving up the leadoff home run to Harding. And Danley, who came in to pitch, is now hitting in Edenfield's spot. Edenfield struck out in her only at bat in this game.
So what's happened is they've gone from a 10-hitter lineup with Allison Royalty in the flex. They've dropped it down to 9, which means Ashton Danley has to hit in Michaela Edenfield's spot.
3 ground balls after giving up the home run. Rothrock responds, but Kaylee Harding evens it up. Welcome back. Kaylee Harding in the dugout after her home run tied this game up at 4 apiece. Leads the team in conference batting average, and that was her 5th home run also in an ACC game. Harding had been playing right field. Janai Kerr has now shifted from center to right, and Belvi goes in to play center for Florida State. See Belvi, Autumn as premier pinch runner. Now she gets a chance to show her speed out there in center. 4-4 ball game between these two bitter rivals, two of the best teams in college softball this year. As we head to the top of the 4th inning, and the top of the lineup for Florida and Falby.
Defensively, they know Falby does not have a ton of power, but they'll shade her to the left side and creep in on the dirt to take away the touch and go.
7 of Florida's 9 hitters have already gotten on base in this game. 4 runs on 4 hits and no errors. 4 runs on 5 hits and now just 2 errors for Florida State officially.
I don't think there's enough words to talk about how gross that pitch is. I mean, and granted, as a pitcher, you think it's beautiful and it's marvelous. As a hitter, you're like, ugh, don't throw that again. It's so frustrating. The way that it spins, it fools you, and she's got so many different speeds that you cannot time it up. But that's a great way to do it, to be able to just push this one right back up the middle. The barrel control of slappers is such a unique art. As a power hitter from the right side, you just step in and swing hard out of your shoes. Big time, rake time. But with slappers, they have such good barrel control because they've always tried to push the ball to the left side, and that's what gives Falby the advantage there. I mean, she lets the barrel go, but then has enough control to keep the barrel back and through the zone long enough to catch up to that pitch.
Sets up Otis already. The Florida Gators are going through their third time through the lineup.
Well, and with the speed on the bases, I would expect to see that being put to the test with Dak back behind the dish, not the everyday catcher with Enfield with most of the experience.
Yeah.
But with how many changeups are being thrown right now, I would take a guess. If I had the speed of Falby over there at first base, I would be guessing on the changeup and taking off, knowing that Flaherty is going to be the one covering second base.
Falby has 16 stolen bases on the season, does not choose to go.
And your job as a base runner with wheels is to be able to take those calculated risks. If you're a green light runner, you've got to be able to guess when that changeup's coming, take advantage, swipe second base, and put yourself in scoring position. And it's so important for you to try to figure out which middle defender is covering second base so that you know which side of the bag you need to slide to get in the way of that throw. There's so many games within the game that you have to be ready to play when you step on the base paths.
2-2. Another off-speed pitch. So Florida has just been ripping it at the plate this year. You take a look at the leaders in the SEC, and the top 4 spots, all Gators.
So I think that means they're doing pretty well this year.
I think they're good. That translates to good.
Well,
Gator good.
Corby Otis coming over from Louisville this season. Look at the velocity coming in on that curveball across the plate. Trying to get in on the hands of Otis. They know that she is one of those dangerous bats in the lineup. They're trying to saw her off, make sure that she doesn't get a ton of barrel on the ball, and they've pushed the outfield over to the right side.
Full count with Falby at first, and that gets over the glove of the shortstop Torres. Falby going to be sent home as the ball got all the way to the wall. Corby Otis delivers with another RBI.
And Pam, that actually was a mistake out of the pitching circle because of the way that the outfield was shaded. That pitch needed to stay on the outside part of the plate. When you shift that far over in center field, then your pitcher, that means you trust the positioning of that pitch. You trust that she's going to hit her spot. It looked as though Dan left center field. The grass was wide open.
10th double of the year for Otis. Again, Florida leads the SEC in doubles and is second in the entire nation. And still a lot of power to face with nobody out. Skylar Wallace followed by Erickson. Florida has scored in every inning except the third when they got the first 2 on and couldn't bring anybody home.
This part of the lineup for Florida, just so good. You've got speed, you've got power, you have veterans in the box who are patient yet aggressive on mistakes. This is a difficult part of the lineup for Florida.
Hit to the right side of the infield to advance the runner. Flaherty had to get it out of her glove quickly for the first out, but Otis now is down at third.
That's one of those plays as a second baseman that you just have to sit and wait for the ball to get to you. There's no way to hustle it up to get there. With that quick throw over to first, you've got to be very quick with your release, but have a little touch on that throw so you don't blow up your first baseman.
Jocelyn Erickson has a single in this game. That one is going to go for a whole lot more. Erickson clears the fence with the first pitch she saw in that at bat.
When it comes to shading in the outfield, it shows that you trust your pitcher's going to hit their spots. And we've got the outfield telegraphing where these pitches are going to be coming in. Belvi out there in center is shaded to the right side, which tells the hitter the ball's coming on the inside part of the plate. When I get that kind of information, you better believe I am. Those kinds of things are things you need to look for in the game when you are a power hitter.
Erickson now with 66 runs driven in. That leads Florida. 3 runs are in and still just 1 away.
When you look at the kind of power that Oklahoma sits on the bench every week, Jocelyn Erickson transferring over to Florida this year has become just one of those exclamation points into why the portal is such a good thing.
Erickson with limited opportunities to get into the everyday starting lineup at Oklahoma. Won a national championship last year, but wanted the opportunity to be an everyday catcher. And Coach Walton really lauds her for knowing exactly what she wanted and said she found it at Florida. And boy, she found a home.
Yeah, sign me up. I want to watch Jocelyn Erickson all day long. She's such a good hitter. Coach Walton actually said he learns from her about how to put your body in different hitting positions or stances to be able to hit rise ball pitchers, drop ball pitchers. He says she thinks the game in just such a great way.
Reagan Walsh, who's been on base twice, fouls one off.
You go from Otis to Wallace to Erickson, and now Reagan Walsh. This is just a part of the lineup that these are professional hitters back to back to back.
There's the changeup.
Yeah, the great equalizer comes out and gets the strikeout. That one's just nasty, and you saw what happens when you throw velocity over and over again. It gets timed up, but if you can throw that changeup, mix it up, don't telegraph it, make sure that you are unpredictable with that change of speed. Very dangerous in the circle.
Lonnie Alameda comes out. Mimi Gooden has been warming in the Florida State bullpen. And we will have yet another pitching change. The third pitcher about to come on for the Noles. Ashton Danley is done for the night in the circle. Lasted 2 1/3 innings, was using that changeup well, but really had a rough 4th inning here, giving up an RBI double and the 2-run home run to Erickson. Going 47 pitches, 29 of them for strikes, and now we see our third Florida State pitcher of the evening, and it's Emma Wilson.
It's not often you see a pitcher relieved after throwing a strikeout, but it seems as though Coach Alameda realizes that she needed to change the mojo in the circle and gives Emma Wilson the nod here. And Wilson is your typical reliever. Limited opportunities back in 2023. She closed well over the weekend in Game 1 against North Carolina, but she will now come to the circle. She was the second pitcher in the game last week against Florida State. Threw 1 inning, gave up 3 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, no strikeouts. So not your strikeout pitcher taking the circle here tonight.
For the third pitcher already used, and we're just here in the 4th inning. We've seen Mimi Gooden also. She is now sat down in the bullpen after warming up. Ava Brown, the first Gator that Wilson faces. Florida with 7 runs on 7 hits. Just the 3rd time that Florida has scored 7 or more runs in a game against Florida State in the last decade. They were run ruled last week in Gainesville by the Noles. That skied a mile high by Brown. Mudge camps under it to retire the side, but the damage is done. Jocelyn Air. Let's talk about rough patches. How about the beginning of the year when Florida State was not looking so well, especially giving up runs early in the year?
Yeah, they had early losses to UCLA, Alabama, Texas, Duke. Then they had some pretty crazy losses to Florida Gulf Coast, Jacksonville University. For them, those were uncharacteristic losses early in the season, but they have come on strong.
Kerr sends it skyward. Look out. Kowalewski from third almost ran into Ava Brown, who squeezed it for the first out of the fourth inning.
Communication is what defense is all about. When you've got a ball sitting right there in the middle of the field, your first and third baseman actually have equal priority. So it all comes down to being loud enough for your compadre to hear, hey, I'm on my way. So
Katie Dack, catcher, stepping in against Rothrock. So Florida State has used three pitchers. Rothrock, the very talented true freshman, has gone the distance so far for Florida State. Coach Alameda's right. Game's really never over. They were down. Dack sends one into the gap. Not the fleetest of foot, but gets to second as the ball got all the way to the wall. So a one-out double for Dack.
Katie Dack says, what do you mean I'm not fleet of foot? That's just my first
test.
Oh, well, that's her first double of the season on a team that leads the ACC in doubles. And it's a perfect hit. Goes the other way with a pitch on the outside part of the plate. I mean, that's just textbook. You let the ball travel, get your hips in.
So Dack now on second with Amaya Ross, who tripled and tried to get an inside the park home run, but was able to scamper back to third and then scored on a sac fly by Mudge. The fans engaged at Florida State. No matter how early we get here, Jenny, we never get here earlier than the people lined up to get into this stadium.
I think there were 50 to 75 people in line, and we were 2 hours early for the game. This is a crowd that loves their Seminoles, loves this time of year, and loves the postseason. And so they show up in a big way. They're just hoping that this stadium gets called for on Selection Sunday to be able to host regionals.
As you see right now, Florida State is 14th in the rankings. So many things go into Selection Sunday. Florida State, the runners-up last year in the Women's College World Series, come into this winners of 14 straight games, 22 of 23. 14 straight wins, by the way, the longest current winning streak in the Power 5.
And while you see that 14 next to Florida State on your score, it's not the rankings that go into where teams travel and go for the postseason. It's your RPI. And right now, Florida State's RPI is 16, which puts them at the bottom of the list for hosting.
They're right there at the cusp, the top 16 host the regionals, where 4 teams go, and then 2 teams in the best 2 out of 3 super regionals, leading to the 8-team Women's College World Series. Another nice play behind the dish by Erickson to keep the ball in front of her.
It's so important to have a wall back there behind the plate, but defensively, the left side of the infield is pulled in while the outfield is playing this pretty straight. So on the left side, you've left a big gap up the middle, and because they're pulled in on the left side, your lateral movement is decreased as well.
3-1 to Ross, swinging and missing. Top of the order, due up, Mudge on deck, followed by Beauchamp. Little tapper. Good play by Rothrock to retire Ross. Dack gets over to third.
Well, and that was just one of those excuse me swings. She allowed the barrel to get over the plate far enough, and Rothrock was trying to jam her up, and so because she jammed her up, it's an easy out Florida 1 out away from getting out of this one unscathed.
And they would love to end it right here and not see Beauchamp come to the plate with runners on. Very dynamic freshman. Mudge with a triple and an RBI sacrifice fly. Good frame by Erickson, but they don't get the call.
And Erickson able to just receive so quietly back there behind the plate. She receives and holds, doesn't do any kind of a drag or a drift. And because of that, I feel like umpires are able to trust her receives. Some catchers try to drag balls back into the zone and buy strikes, but Erickson gives a very true look back there behind the dish.
3-1 pitch.
And Mudge has really turned it on in ACC play. She's hitting 384 on the year coming into today, but she is hitting 449 in ACC play. So she has found a way to put her emotions down, slow her heart rate, and be productive here at the most critical time of the year.
Mudge also coming off surgery on her ankle in the off-season, in and out of the lineup early on. And as mentioned, really coming on. Hitting 449 in ACC games and also in her last 23 games as well. Another full count pitch with Dak at third. Hit hard, but playable for Williams to retire the side and keep Beauchamp in the on-deck circle. 7-4 Florida after 4.
Hitters to be so important as they head into the end of the regular season, push for postseason opportunities. And this is a big game with postseason implications for both of these teams as they push for RPI to try to gain the opportunity to host regionals in the first round of the postseason.
Certainly would be a resume booster for both teams. Florida State won last week in Gainesville. Kistler leads things off here in the 5th against Wilson, the third Florida State pitcher. Florida, a couple of unearned runs in the first inning, then Florida State getting home runs, and Florida just relentless. As you just saw the highlights of the last inning, including Erickson's 2-run homer. And Florida, talk about resume builders. How about they have to play Texas A&M to close out the regular season this weekend?
They're just the second team in the SEC. No big deal, right?
Florida State will host Syracuse starting on Friday. Pardon me, go to Syracuse. This is their final home game of the year. They hope their final home regular season game as they hope to host regionals yet again. There's a leadoff walk for Kistler. First one given up by Wilson, who came in to get the final out of the 4th inning. Bottom of the lineup, Howalewski has walked and scored in this game. Florida State might have been sad to see the calendar turn over last night. They were 16-1 in April, outscored their opponents by 101 runs, 135 to 34.
Well, that's pretty good,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think they're doing all right.
Their only loss during April was to Louisville. The only ACC series they lost was to Duke, who's in first place, well, at the top of the standings, rather, excuse me, with Florida State. Now, Florida State can clinch outright if they sweep Syracuse next week and get a share if they win 2 out of 3, because Duke is done. They do not play an ACC series this weekend.
I mean, look at the way that April has played out. When you think about the way their year started, they were 12-5 to start the year. They lost their opener to Charlotte and then had 4 more losses through February and March. And so for this team, they continue to evolve. And that's something that Lonnie Alameda never does is she never stresses. She never lets the anxiety set in about they're not where they need to be. She trusts the process, and the way that her players play, they have taken on that behavior and that attitude too, and they just continue to grind and get better through a season.
This is not going to please anyone for Florida State. Back-to-back walks to start the 5th inning.
Well, Wilson is one of those pitchers that does give up a ton of walks. She has 18 strikeouts on the year, and with those 2 back-to-back walks now has 17 free passes, so 18 to 17 in her line.
Back-to-back walks against the 7 and 8 hitters in this lineup. Here's number 9, Mia Williams, the second baseman.
When you talk to Coach Walton about the power of Mia Williams, she only has 3 home runs on the year, but she's been putting so much pressure on herself in this, her freshman season. He says when you watch her play in practice, she's got light tower power. That was maybe my favorite phrase that he used in our conversation. But when you come into a game and you put that kind of pressure on yourself, you tighten up. And to be a good hitter, you have to be able to have loose hands.
Now Walton wants to have a conference with his base runners and his batter, Amelia Williams. The top of the lineup, trying to roll it over. Falby, the leadoff hitter, is on deck. Chance to really blow this open for Florida.
You can tell this is a pivotal moment. Tim Walton a little bit heated as he came in and said something to home plate umpire Anthony Small. Both the defense and the offense coming together, knowing that this could be that fork in the road that takes one of these teams on to victory in this game.
Williams takes the strike.
And that pitch has really good movement on it, but it starts too far out to be a competitive pitch. If that pitch starts middle of the plate, it will dupe the batter into a swing. But when it starts that far out and then continues to trail out, it's not going to get a swing. It is an unhittable pitch out of the hand.
Two-2 pitch with 2 on. Williams sends it back. Florida last year was sent out to the Palo Alto Regional, where they were runners up to Stanford, who then went out to Duke and swept Duke in the Durham Super Regional to get to the World Series.
Well, and how do they do it? Behind the arms of Nysri Kennedy and Alana Vaughter. I mean, those 2 players back-to-back. Nysri Kennedy with the rise ball, Alana Vaughter with the drop ball. I mean, those 2 players, so difficult. Nysri Kennedy still at Stanford, but Alana Vaughter is now transferred to South Carolina for this season, in her grad season.
That hit Williams to load the bases with nobody out, and here comes the top of the order.
And Florida's known to hold their ground in the box, but also try to own the river. And while the ball has to be completely in the batter's box to prevent a batter from moving, Florida has figured out a way to exploit that rule. They're not breaking the rule, but they definitely do not give way to that ball anywhere near the river. She does not move towards the ball. The umpires are going to take this one to see where the location of the ball was as Williams wore it.
If this holds up, will be the 6th time that Williams has been hit by a pitch this season.
We saw when this rule changed back before COVID that Florida became the queens of wearing those pitches. So they're going to give her first base and say that that ball was in an area that she did not have to move. So out of the hand, it does go inside, but a pitcher should be able to throw a ball in the river without running the risk of hitting a batter. We'll see a pitching change, and we'll introduce you to that new pitcher on the other side of the break.
Forever.
Welcome back. Florida State has brought their 4th pitcher to the circle. It is Mimi Gooden.
After 8 straight balls, Williams is relieved for Gooden, who will see her 18th appearance in the circle on the season.
And comes in a very precarious situation. Bases loaded, nobody out, top of the order, and Falby, followed by Otis and Wallace and Erickson. If they go that deep, Emma Wilson lasted just 1/3 of an inning plus 3 batters, gave up 2 walks and hit a batter. Through 17 pitches, only 5 of them for strikes.
Well, the difference that you see coming out of the circle now is that Gooden doesn't throw with a ton of velocity, and when you've got Falby up there to the plate, you don't want to give her any more power. Gooden likes to throw the changeup, but also throws that drop pretty consistently at the knees.
Gooden, a true freshman, started against Florida last week, went 3 innings, gave up a run. A crazy game. Florida led that one 2-0 before Florida State exploded for 12 runs in the 5th inning. 8 of those runs unearned. Flaherty can't get to it. 2 more runs cross the plate. Kistler comes in. Kowalewski comes in.
And you know you have to play in with bases loaded and one of those hitters that loves to keep the ball on the ground. But what you do as a defender by being so close to the plate is you take away your ability to move laterally with any kind of distance. So everybody becomes like a corner. All you've got is a step and a dive. And because of that, when you take away the ability to move from side to side.
Falby now with 3 runs driven in. And here comes the really dangerous part of the Florida lineup. Runners on base. Falby delivers. Not the power, but boy, she's got an RBI single and then that 2-run single. And here comes the power with Otis, Wallace, and Erickson. Otis had an RBI double her last time up. This is already her 4th at bat of the game. 4th plate appearance. Throw down, not in time. Both runners move up.
And Pam, that's my favorite play as a hitter. I did that fake drag steal every single time I feel like I was up to bat. That's why I have the career RBI lead in the country, is because I would always move my runners to second and third before I'd go ahead and hit it as hard as I could. That is such an important play because now you've got 2 runners in scoring position and your defense has to pull in.
Otis down 1-2. Takes it into left field. It's tracked nicely by Mudge, but the tag from Williams comes in to score. Falby goes over to third.
I mean, without that fake drag steal, you don't score a run in that situation. It would just be a fly ball to Mudge, and everybody would stay at first and second. by moving your runners to second and third, not only do you score a run, but now you put another runner within 60 feet of scoring.
One away with the runner on third for Skylar Wallace, who's looking for her first hit tonight. 10 runs on 8 hits for Florida. Florida State pitchers, 7 free passes, 5 walks, 2 hit batters. Not helping their cause, and you compound that with 2 errors in the field.
And I'm going to say it was 3. I think that Devin Flaherty ball up the middle, while it was, she did have to move to go get it, I think they're going to go back and revisit that one, because that is a play that Devin Flaherty makes in her sleep.
That's a reference as it gets away from Dak momentarily. Falby with a grounder to Flaherty in the second inning that originally was an E4, was changed to an RBI single. There have been some great hitters coming through Gainesville, but none of them with a better slugging percentage or on-base percentage than Wallace. And a chance to add to that. Sends another one foul.
I mean, Skylar Wallace has the most runs scored per game in the SEC, actually first in the country in that category. Defensively, she has the most runs saved by any shortstop in the country. Yes, she was the 2023 SEC Player of the Year. This is just one of those players you don't like to see up to bat.
Got a hold of that one to stay alive on a full count with Jocelyn Erickson looming.
Yeah, it doesn't get any easier once you get past Wallace. You've still got Power now sitting in the on-deck circle, who hit a home run in her last at bat.
Hit on the nose, grabbed in center by Kerr, who is back there. But that leads to another run with the second straight sacrifice fly for the Gators.
I mean, tell me there's not a more pivotal play in this game right now than that fake drag steal. You do nothing but pretend to put the ball in play, and you pull it back. Whether it's a ball or a strike, it doesn't even matter. It just gives you the advantage, and Florida able to do so now with 2 sac flies back to back.
The bases are empty now with 2 away for Jocelyn Erickson, who is the 7th Gator to come to the plate. Here in the 5th inning. Erickson with the 2-run shot back in the 3-run 4th. This is so far the 4-run 5th. Florida has scored in every inning except the 3rd.
And the last time these two teams played last week, Florida was able to put up single digits in 3 separate innings. But this week, much different story, as they put up a ton of crooked numbers to be able to go at Florida State in this revenge match.
Up in the air, Flaherty grabs it for the final out, but more damage done. A lot of free passes and some big sac flies. It's Florida with a big lead over Florida State. It's kind of a reverse of what we saw last week. The 5th inning has been very pivotal in the 2 games they played a week ago today in Gainesville. You see Florida coming up with 4 runs in the top of the 5th. Florida State with 12 runs. Yes, all 12 of their runs last week came in the 5th inning, in which they run-ruled Florida. We will see if they respond here. Jenny Dalton, no.
It was the 5th inning last week. Florida State put up the most runs they've ever scored in an inning off of a ranked opponent. It was huge, and it was a run rule victory. The first time a run rule win has happened in this rivalry.
Beauchamp leads things off, had a 2-run home run off Rock, who elected to pitch to her back in the 1st inning. And have to give credit to Rothrock. Was a little rocky there in the first couple of innings. Hung in there. Harding with a liner for a home run in the third inning. But the true freshman has gone the distance so far. Beauchamp, part of a very heralded freshman class. You talked about Florida getting the #1 class. Florida State not far behind with Beauchamp and Torres as the headliners in the field.
And in this situation, Beauchamp comes up with nobody on, but she has been so pivotal in the RBI category this year. She broke that freshman record set by Sid Sherrill back in her freshman season. Back in 2018, she broke that record over the weekend against North Carolina.
With her home run tonight, Beauchamp 61 runs driven in. Where's 42? Not for the great Jackie Robinson, which would have been a great and wonderful reason, but her grandmother, when she played softball, was number 24. 24 was taken when she got here, so she reversed it to honor her grandmother. Sends that one deep, but foul.
I always tell young hitters, I give them permission to hit that inside pitch a country mile, knowing that it sends a message to the pitcher that, hey, I can turn on this. My hips are ready to fire, and I'm ready to throw the barrel. And Beauchamp is so good at just driving the ball the other way.
This time she's going to try to leg it out and is safe with the throw from Kowalewski across the diamond.
I see you, Jason E. Beauchamp, getting down the line. Somebody's got some wheels over there at first base. And this is an outside pitch that she pulls, and because it's outside, she can't get the sweet part of the barrel on the ball. It's a weak ground ball to the left side of the field, lightning down the line.
Pinch runner coming in for Beauchamp. It's Annie Potter.
That's kind of messed up. She just showed she's pretty quick, right? I see you. I wouldn't have subbed for you, Jason E. No, I'm just kidding. But when it comes to Annie Potter, you've got to put wheels on the bases. It is so important to take advantage of opportunities here. And now some more speed on the bases to help themselves out.
Harding hit a home run her last time out on a ball that didn't get very high off the ground. Just cleared the fence over there in left field.
When the defense is pulled in again, this is a unique situation where you've got a power hitter up to the plate and the infield is in the baseline. Not typical how you would play Harding at the plate. Potter over there at first base has 9 stolen bases on the year. She's 9 for 11. We've not seen her in motion at all, and that's actually one of those plays this season that has been under review. It is a reviewable play now to see if a runner at first base leaves on time, so it actually makes runners leave a little bit too late at times for a stolen base.
Harding in the short right field. Williams drifted back and caught it just in front of Kistler for the first out.
Rothrock taking a deep breath on that one. I thought that might have a chance to fall, knowing that the right fielder, Kistler and Williams at second, both trying to figure it out. In that situation, an outfielder does have priority, and an infielder, it didn't look as though there was a ton of communication by the outfield, so it is up to a second baseman to go rein that one in.
Bossy second baseman, right?
No, we're not bossy. We take commands well. You just got to give them early enough.
There's Isa Torres, who has a single tonight. Big throw down by Erickson.
But defensively, I'm not understanding why the defense is pulled in so shallow. I would expect that this defense would give themselves room up the middle to move, but they are playing right in the face of Torres and challenging her to get it through them.
Tim Walton calls everybody in, outfielders included. Take a look at Rothrock's night so far. 82 pitches, 44 of them for strikes.
It's just a timeout for strategy to be able to make sure that the defense is all on the same plate, make sure that same page, make sure everybody knows where they need to go with the ball in the air, a ball on the ground, a ball to their left, and a ball to their right. I mean, that is exactly what you need to be thinking about defensively on every single pitch when you take the field. If you get a ball moving you to your left, where's the play going to be? If you get a ball moving you to your right, where do you need to throw?
We visit after a 3-0 count to Torres. Rothrock gets one in. Evan Flaherty is on deck for the Noles. Torres draws the walk. I think they were just being careful with it.
It is smart to be careful with Torres because now you head into the part of the lineup that doesn't have as much power in it, knowing that Torres was the one that packed the bigger punch.
Torres hit the 3-run home run last week against the Gators. One of 2 3-run homers in the big 5th inning. Beauchamp had the other. Flaherty has walked and grounded out. Edenfield is on deck. She was pinch hit for in her last scheduled plate appearance.
It was actually Ashton Danley who was pitching and then had to be inserted into that DP role. So they went from 10 down to 9 in their lineup. The pitcher, Ashton Danley, had to hit for herself, but by inserting a new pitcher back out there into the circle with Mimi Gooden now pitching for the Noles, it gives Edenfield the opportunity to come back into the lineup, and she's next up.
Right up the middle. Backhanded beautifully and turned the double play. What a play by Mia Williams to end the inning.
And that's one of those situations where defense pulled in does give you the advantage. It was pretty quick. Defensively.
Reagan Walsh leading things off here in the top of the 6th. Florida has scored in every inning except for 3rd. Mimi Gooden, the 4th Seminole pitcher we have seen tonight.
And the hard part is, how do you manage these pitching staffs when you've got big series at the end of the weekend? I mean, both of these teams have big series to finish out.
Beauchamp skied it a little bit, but Ross was able to step on the bag to retire Walsh. We have you covered in Durham for the ACC Softball Championships beginning next Wednesday. Yes, at 1 Eastern time. That's a week from today. Coverage you won't want to miss right here on the ACC Network. And we're very pleased that we will be there. We got Todd Cole.
We'll be there for the night side and to take you all the way through the championship game.
Championship will be a week from Saturday, and everybody will be watching the selection show on Sunday. Here's Ava Brown. Brown not only a hitter for Florida, but has been a solid pitcher as well with 14 wins.
Well, Ava Brown has 12 home runs on this season, but 11 of her 12 home runs have been on the road. And so she's found a way to score more times with the long ball when she's not sitting in front of her home crowd. And I think that's because it's so hard to hit it out of Katie Cecil Presley Stadium.
Brown's numbers higher in SEC games. Coach Walton saying how she comes up big. The bigger the opponent, the bigger her output has been. Gets a one-out single here in the 6th. Her second hit of the night.
When coming into the season, you knew Ava Brown was going to be one of those pivotal players for Florida. She was National Gatorade Player of the Year and is so good in the circle and at the plate. We've seen another Gator that had that kind of swag. Lauren Hager, back in the day for Florida, had that ability to hit for herself in a lineup. And then this communication is so important. As Brown comes back to relay information to Kistler, the next batter, knowing that she has not faced Gooden here tonight.
Bailey Goddard comes in to run for Brown. Katie Kistler walked and scored her last time up in the 5th inning. Florida scored 4 runs on just 1 hit. 2 walks, hit batter, a couple of RBI sac flies.
And Pam, the kind of runs that Florida's been able to put up here tonight, the last time the Gators had scored 8 runs versus Florida State was back in April 2013. I mean, this is a rivalry that doesn't see these big time runs put up on the board the way we've seen them do this season.
Both of these teams so good offensively this year. Some drop off in pitching with some young pitchers. Florida coming into this game hitting .344 on the season. Florida State .347 as that goes foul.
And then you look at the home run production by both of these teams. Both of these teams in the 70s in their home runs. The biggest disparity between these two is just the way that they've been able to put up big, huge numbers. I mean, this is very balanced offensive production by both of these teams.
Very similar numbers. Ross goes over to second to get the lead runner for the second out.
That's a risky play over there by Ross. We've seen her do some unique things as this is her first year as a starter. But to get that lead runner, so important. I like that she challenged herself to get that out. But I always hold my breath when there's a gimme out sitting right in front of you and you go for something a little more risky.
Kowalewski, who has been walked twice and struck out against the variety of Florida State pitchers. Kerr going back to the wall and just at the warning track gathers it in to retire the side. Florida strands a runner, but they're up 7 as we go. It certainly feels like it. The only SEC series that Florida lost this year, by the way, was to Missouri. The only ACC series that Florida State lost was to Duke. Edenfield leads things off in the 6th inning.
Okay, so it's not a million, but honestly, Florida State has won 7 of the last 9 regular season titles in the ACC. They've won 8 of the last 9 ACC tournament championships. So for them, they are looking postseason. Do they get the AQ? Are they going to need to work on their RPI to find a way to host at home? They are sitting right on the bubble. Both of these two teams sitting on the bubble of being able to host the postseason. You never want to travel. You want to be able to play at your home field. They don't want this to be the last time that they play here at Joanne Graff Field.
3-0 to Edenfield, and she's swinging.
100%. I'm not going to take the walk. Give me a big old juicy cookie and let's take this one deep. I mean, you're trying to prove a point here. But the way that Florida State has been able to put together this beautiful resume, this record that they put together, it was a rocky beginning, but as of late, they've won 22 of their last 23 games and really making a statement.
5-pitch walk for Edenfield to lead off the 6th. third walk given up by Rothrock. He's gotten Janai Kerr to pop out twice.
Edenfield over there on first base does have a stolen base on the season. You wonder, well, why don't you put in a pinch runner here? Well, they've already taken her out of the game once, so relieving her of her duties here would take her out of the game indefinitely.
Kerr goes with the outside pitch, and that hit Travis Wilson.
I mean, you look at Travis Wilson, and he actually is going to graduate this weekend. He wears that one. Come on, you got to be smarter than that. You got to find a way to get out of the way of that sharp hit ball down the line. Man, that was a tough one right at him. But kudos to him for being able to earn his this week here at Florida State.
Kerr facing a 1-2 pitch. That one is sent skyward and gone. Janai Kerr unloads for the two-run homer.
Janai Kerr had a breakout 2023, and this season has absolutely crushed the ball. She's now hit more home runs than she did last year. That's blast number 9. It was mashed. That ball.
By Florida State in this game, piling up extra base hits. And cutting the lead back down to 5.
I mean, we've gone through years where Florida State was just hitting doubles. That was their form of extra base hits. This year, they've now got 78 home runs on the year, a number that we're not used to seeing out of the Seminoles. Last season hit 63 home runs, so continuing to push that number back to where it used to be 4 to 5 years ago.
Now Katie Dack, Florida State tonight with 8 hits, only 2 of them have been singles. Have a couple of triples, 3 home runs, double. Rothrock falls behind Dack. 3-0. This is the bottom of the lineup.
Well, we talked to Coach Walton about how his pitching staff needed to respond to walks, and he said, you know what, I'm not upset with walks. It's the next batter that I'm worried about. I'm okay if after a walk we roll a ground ball and get a double play. This situation that has happened this inning, you give up a leadoff walk, and then what happens behind it? A 2-run shot. And so that's the issue right now for Florida. It's okay to have a lapse and give up a walk. Coach Walton's not worried about that. He's worried about what happens next. And in these late innings, you have to stay focused in the circle. Rothrock has thrown 17 complete games this season. She has been the workhorse in the circle, throwing 166 innings coming into this one tonight. Has 20 wins on the season, and they are going to rely heavily on her arm, a young freshman arm in the circle.
Pitch number 100 is fouled back. She's been falling behind hitters in this inning. And they're aligned now after 100 pitches.
I mean, it all comes down to conditioning. What did you do in the off season? How did you prepare yourself to get here? And I think it's hard for a freshman to be able to prepare for a regular season, never have gone through one. So for a freshman, you love the way that Rothrock has been able to show up consistently day in and day out, stay healthy, and give her team a chance to win. But now that you sit at the end of your season, this is the 52nd game of the year for Florida. And she's been asked to do so much in the circle this year. You hope that she can stay strong through the rest of the season.
Lost stack. Second walk surrendered by Rothrock in this inning.
But definitely not the way she wants this inning to go, but I have not seen anyone warming in the pen for Florida.
Number 9 hitter Amaya Ross tripled and scored back in the second. Tim Walton makes another visit. And we are going to have a change. More on that as Rothrock exits. Rothrock has now been taken out of the game, has not retired a batter here in the 6th inning. Ava Brown's turn to pitch.
And she comes in as the second trusted arm on staff. This will be her 28th appearance. Her strikeout to walk ratio is a little too close for comfort, but she has thrown over 100 innings this year, and she's come into a tough spot, knowing that there have been free passes and home runs handed out like candy so far this inning.
2 walks, 2-run home run by Kerr. Brown, who had been playing first base, is in the circle, so Gels goes over to play first. Ross just beat it out. Needed all that speed.
Yeah, good thing she's lightning down the line, because that one was going to be a pretty easy double play without her speed. She saw that. She got jammed up, pushed it right there to second to Mia Williams.
Turns it over to Kaylee Mudge. Brown, like Rothrock, whom she just relieved, a true freshman. Coach Walton told us how impressed he was with Brown, particularly with being a true freshman, and how much she pays attention to her body, is in the training room, getting a lot of recovery. Maybe to combat what you were talking about earlier with these freshmen who are about to really get into the grit of this season. And getting there as healthy mentally and physically as they can. Stung on the ground, backhanded by Williams to get Ross. Okay, second base aficionado. I've seen some good stuff from Mia Williams tonight.
No, and that's the defense that you love to see. Just a little toss over there to Wallace at second, and it's a heads-up play by Wallace to be able to keep that ball, not make the throw. It was going to be probably no point in making that throw, but what that does is it gives you Beauchamp to the plate, who's seeing the ball well.
To say the least.
And this is a walk that I would give and not feel bad about it, knowing that Beauchamp is seeing the ball so well. She's already got a home run in this game, had a hit in her last at bat. She loves to be challenged on the inside, can go well with it the other way.
We've seen Florida State appear to be careful with her, going to 2 or 3 ball counts. And then Beauchamp hit that 2-run homer in the first, the infield single her last time up. Absolutely locked in.
Well, knowing that she loves to pull the ball, I would attack her on the outside part of the plate. We've seen that as you throw the ball to the outside, she will roll over and give you that weak ground ball. But look at the way that the home runs are playing out. She's not going oppo very often. She has that kind of power, but if you want to challenge her, you need to stay outside, you need to stay low, and you need to stay off speed. That's what they do, and she doesn't fall for it. Draws the walk, but that is not a bad walk. That's actually a really good walk, knowing that that hitter is seeing the ball well.
Exactly what I would have done. Put her on. With all due respect to Kaylee Harding and everybody, Torres is on deck, but Beauchamp with 2 outs especially, so dangerous. So let's see how Harding responds.
Harding has a home run in this game as well. I mean, this is a tough spot in the lineup for Brown.
Way inside. Over the glove of Erickson. Both runners move up. Fourth wild pitch of the season for the freshman Brown. Here comes more coaches.
Well, this game feels like a marathon. I feel like we've had so many big moments that these teams have to attack. And you wonder, is this a conversation that has to happen because of the youth of this team? I've never seen Tim Walton take the field so many times in a game, but he's coaching his young players through these pivotal moments, hoping that the lessons can be learned here in the regular season and that they don't come back to bite them in the postseason when it's a win-or-go-home situation.
Brown falling behind Harding 2-0, and after the wild pitch, runners on second and third. Way inside.
Well, that's the difference between Florida State and Florida. Florida would stand in there and wear that pitch all day long, and Harding continues to get out of the way of the pitch on the inside.
Taking all the way, Brown drops in his strike. Issa Torres, the freshman cleanup hitter, on deck.
And you have to turn that on that pitch and get it out of here. But when you look back to the third inning, Harding got a big old pitch and drove it. It was a line drive home run. I mean, that ball barely cleared the wall.
Full count to Harding with 2 away. Sends it foul.
And the impressive part of the lineup for Florida State is that they've got power and speed all throughout the lineup. We've seen doubles, triples, and home runs, not only at the top of the lineup, but within the last 3 batters of this lineup, you're seeing power, speed, and the ability to capitalize on pivotal moments just like that.
How about this, Jenny?
A mature at bat for sure by Kaylee Harding to be able to draw the walk, load the bases for the powerful freshman.
Issa Torres. No place to put her. Big opportunity for the freshman, who, along with Beauchamp, are on the top 25 National Freshman of the Year list. Hit a 3-run homer against Florida last week. Has a couple of walk-off home runs this year. Has come up big in pressure situations.
And they are not going to throw inside to Torres, knowing that that's where her pull power is. Right on the inside part of the plate. Loves to turn on it, drive the ball deep.
Ava Brown has struggled with her control this year, has given up a ton of walks, back-to-back walks here in the 6th.
Well, and what have they done? They've awoke the Seminole fans. I mean, this is, you're getting the chop all over the field now. I love the extended seating that they've been able to construct here at Joanne Graff Field for this sold-out crowd.
Rio pitch. Torres takes 3 straight walks.
It's all about throwing competitive strikes, and right now the Noles are showing discipline and forcing Ava Brown to bring it over more of the white.
Evan Flaherty, the 9th Seminole to bat here in the 6th inning. Reruns are in. Flaherty into right field, where it is grabbed by Kistler to end the inning. 3 runs come in, and look at this. Michaela Edenfield, who just this past weekend came back after surgery on a broken finger, was DPing. She's now coming in to catch the 7th inning.
And they just had her throw down to second base. It was a little high and a little wide, but she took a bow to the stands as she came back, and everyone was applauding her back behind the plate for the first time in over 2 weeks.
Well, Edenfield comes in to replace Dak behind the plate. Broke that finger in early April against Louisville. And I saw her down in the bullpen earlier when some of the pitchers were warming up, didn't have a clear view, and I'm thinking, would they really put her in to catch tonight? And look what Lonnie Alameda has done.
Well, and she said if there was ever a player more determined and focused on getting back to play, she didn't know who it was, because Edenfield, as soon as the injury happened, was so frustrated that just a moment of frustration led to her having to come out of the lineup. She hadn't hit well in a game, slammed her helmet down, got her finger stuck in the ear hole. It was just a very crazy situation that caused that injury. Had to go into surgery, have it repaired, and now back in the lineup with a surgically repaired finger, still in that tape job that prevents her from putting that finger on. But what I think you'll see is some teams try to expose that and maybe add a little bit more run game if Edenfield's back behind the dish.
Oh, remarkable. Just getting a piece of it to start the top of the 7th inning. Mia Williams, who has reached a couple of times on the free passes that have hurt Florida State tonight. Reached on an error and hit by a pitch. Held on to by Edenfield. Strikeout for the first out of the 7th.
Yeah, you need to give the nod to Mimi Gooden, who actually just got the strikeout. But I think everybody in the crowd was so excited to see that hard, crisp throw down to third base after the swing and miss. I mean, that's impressive. And look at the way that Edenfield able to respond to that nice leadoff to the inning.
Mimi Gooden, the 4th Florida State pitcher tonight, is in the circle. Opposite way, off the wall for Falby, who gets the 1-out double. That is her 4th hit of the night.
Yeah, talk about a hitter that's on fire. The top of the lineup, Kendra Falby. And the way that this ball is played off the wall, talk about veteran move, as Mudge goes back as deep as she can off the wall. And then the who has re-entered back in center plays that perfectly right behind her to get the ricochet off the wall.
Falby with 3 singles and a double tonight. Corby Otis, one of the best hitters in the SEC, really showing it tonight for the Gators. Long fly ball hits the top of the wall and goes over. Corby Otis with the 2-run home run that just got out of here.
Corby Otis was the player in the portal versus top 25 teams. And when Coach Walton saw her in the portal, he knew he needed to have a conversation with her. And as soon as she stepped on campus, he realized that her goals aligned perfectly with what Florida was trying to put together for this season. Otis steps in with the highest batting average.
Otis with 4 runs driven in tonight, 13 runs for Florida. In this series, only 3 times in the fast pitch era has either one of these teams scored in double digits. 2 of those 3s have come. 2 of those 3 games, as Flaherty throws out Wallace. 2 of those 3 games have come in the last week, with Florida State putting up 12 last week in Gainesville, and now Florida one-upping that with 13 here tonight.
And it's just hiccups in the circle. When you've got those dominant drop ball pitchers that come in. I mean, Kat Sandercock, she was so hard to hit. Hard drop ball, but she could go all over the zone. She had pitches that could fill all quadrants. And now you've got young pitching in the circle trying to attack hitters that are so seasoned, so strong, so powerful. And it seems as though all across the country, hitters have the advantage from top to bottom. And there's Kat Sandercock in the audience here tonight.
The tremendous player she was. Pitcher of the year last year in the ACC. Angeli Bueno, by the way, playing over there at first base now for the Seminoles, relieving Harding. There she is. Florida State going up to Syracuse, where I think it's going to be a little cooler than it is here.
We had Clemson actually earlier this year who had played Syracuse even earlier in ACC play, and they said that was the coldest they'd ever been. So while it will be a little cooler than here in Tallahassee,
should be better.
I think I would be grateful I'm playing them in the last weekend of regular season play.
We had Clemson at Notre Dame a couple weeks ago, and everybody broke out the parkas for that one.
Us included.
2-2 now to Erickson. And did she recover in time? Yes, she did. It's the first baseman we just told you about. Almost no bueno, but she made the play.
Looks like that was a foul ball in the field. They'll put Erickson back up.
All right, so Jocelyn Erickson gets a second life, as that was very quietly called a foul ball or not. She's back in the box. Well, what an offensive display, but Florida helped by some miscues and certainly taking advantage of it. Now Bueno doesn't make the play.
I feel like every time you put somebody in the ball game off the bench, the ball will always find them in the very next inning. And as Angelina Bueno takes over at first base, the ball high hopper right into her chest, and typically you can just block it and touch the bag for the out able to be made.
Another error for Florida State, their third of the game.
Fourth.
Yes, officially for now, their third. But if Jennifer
If I was calling
Hill
it
was the official score, it would be 4. Gels comes up for the first time. He came in to play first base in the last inning. He doesn't waste any time. Swinging, long run. There's Mudge. That's Mudge being Mudge right there. But more power for the Gators.
But I love the tenacity of this player at the dish.
Came back last weekend in the sweep against North Carolina, and since her return, she is 3 for 7 with a home run and 3 RBIs, all that last weekend against Carolina. She was posted about how upset she was with herself for that emotional reaction after an at-bat she was not pleased with that put her out of action for a while, apologized, and boy, as Coach Alameda told us, really worked hard to get back onto the field. Got a nice swing on that. Wallace can't handle it. Nettenfield's aboard.
And it was just such a fluke situation that broke that finger, had to miss 2 full series. Also missed the game last week against Florida, but just pounds this ball into the ground. Because she pounds it so hard, Wallace chose to stay back to field that ball.
So would you score that a single or an error?
You know I'm going to say an error. It's probably a single. Wallace knows she can make that play.
I'm erasing my E6 from the book, kiddo.
I'm going to keep mine down there just saying.
That's a single. For Janai Kerr, last time up, she punished the ball and hit a 2-run home run. It will be interesting going forward as, let's go backwards first to what Kerr did in the last time up.
Oh, you know, just a little dinger. No big deal. Huge bomb. Driving it deep for Florida State. And usually when you've got 3 home runs in a game, you think, oh, they've got this game in hand. No, this one is 2 touchdowns with a point after to 1 touchdown at the moment.
2 touchdowns with a missed
PAT.
like a Vikings kicker. Kerr was first team all-conference last year. Coming on strong. Getting healthy. Advances the runner, and the comebacker handled by Brown for the first out of the inning. Edenfield now down at second.
Well, and that's what makes Ava Brown so good in the circle. It's not that she's necessarily overpowering hitters, but she is such a good defender. She's great on her feet, very athletic, able to use the glove and her body to just kind of keep her emotions in check, get that ball over to first base. She is so good. A National Gatorade Player of the Year.
Katie Dack, who has switched from catcher to DP, swings and misses at the first offering from Brown.
The curveball's got some really nasty movement on it. I like that pitch.
Wallace couldn't handle the backhand. Edenfield's going to stay at third as we await this ruling.
I'll just give it a single because it seems like everything's a hit tonight. But Wallace can make that play too. I was a shortstop that never sat back on a ball. I never wanted the ball to hit the ground more than it had to. I would count my hops. That's a ball that I want you to pick the short hop. Do not let it eat you like that. And as you take those steps backward, that's exactly what happened. I want to see a shortstop that is more aggressive through the ball to be able to take advantage of the short hop pick.
Now another meeting in the circle with Amaya Ross coming up, and that has been ruled a single for Dack.
Good job, Katie Dack.
Her second hit.
I wonder if the people at home can see me roll my eyes. Luckily, no.
More of a feeling. All right, Amaya Ross tripled and scored about 3 hours ago in the second inning. If Ross can get on, they'll turn over the lineup. As long as there's not a double play, Mudge coming up, then Beauchamp. Fisted. Erickson could, with a good effort, but ran out of real estate as it hit off the screen.
Yeah, Erickson coming over from Oklahoma, knowing that she wanted to be an all-time catcher, was stuck behind Kinsey Hansen at Oklahoma. Coming to Florida really aligns well with the goals of this group and has become their everyday starter back there behind the dish.
He's also their cleanup hitter. Another inside pitch. Ross gets a chance at a 3-1 pitch. Took it, called strike.
This is a competitive pitch, and that's the kind of pitch that you want to throw in that count to make sure that you keep a batter honest. Nice spot. I mean, when you wear out the inside part of the plate, it's really difficult as a hitter to keep your hands inside and that the barrel inside that ball and push it fair. So there's not much you can do with it other than foul it off and keep the at-bat alive.
Full count with Edenfield at third, Dak at first. Ross just got a piece of it. Get some words of encouragement yelled at her by Mudge on deck. Number 9 at this at bat. Sails high. Bases are loaded for Mudge. Bases are full of Seminoles for Kaylee Mudge. First pitch down the line and into the Florida bullpen.
And Pam, Mudge is typically one of those hitters that goes deeper into counts to start a game and does end up hitting earlier in a count at the end of a game. However, that right there was not a pitch that she needed to be hunting. She needed to see this ball and find a zone and go at it, not just swing and hit any pitch coming at her. This is a very important at-bat for Florida State. I was always told as a hitter, just because you can hit it doesn't mean you should hit it. And that first pitch, an important one, and we've got another conference in the circle.
One away. Mudge up with the bases loaded. And Jason E. Beauchamp on deck.
And if you don't turn a double play here, you see the hottest hitter in the lineup for Florida State.
Beauchamp relishes those kinds of at-bats.
Well, and a home run here, a grand slam, doesn't tie you. There is no point to be swinging for the fences if you're Mudge. Your job is to bust this ball into a gap. That is Mudge's M.O. She's got a ton of doubles on the season. She's got 11 doubles on the season. Already has a triple here tonight. There is no point to elevate. She needs to make sure that she stays on top, if not the middle of this ball. The defense is all in. They are squeezing her at the plate, trying to get the out at home. She has a ton of real estate available if she can just punch a hard ground ball.
1-2.
That's one of the things veteran hitters are good at, is making sure that they hit with their eyes up. They don't just see what's right in front of them, but they look at the real estate around and make sure that they know the situation. This is not a home run situation. She needs to just punch a single and move people on the bases.
Right up the middle. Ettenfield scores. Everybody else holds up. RBI single for Mudge, and here comes Beauchamp.
Well, that's the kind of hit that Florida State needs at the top of the lineup. They don't need Mudge to swing outside of herself, and I feel like that's what she was doing early on at this at-bat. That ball up in the zone, she went after, chased it. Luckily, it went foul to be able to keep the at-bat alive. But that right there is typical Mudge. Line drive, find the grass, pass.
Beauchamp. As the fans greet Tim Walton as he heads to the circle, but he's making a pitching change. Beauchamp is up with the bases loaded here in the seventh. The starter, Keegan Rothrock. This is what she did in her first 5 innings through 102 pitches. Gave up 7 runs, 7 earned runs. She is back in. Ava Brown, we talked about how Brown, the freshman, has some good numbers, but control not her strong suit. She threw 46 pitches, only half of them for strikes. Walked 4 batters, and now the bases are loaded with just 1 away for the most dangerous batter in this lineup in Beauchamp.
Well, Keegan Rothrock exited the game in the 6th inning after throwing a walk, a home run, and a walk. So she had lost control of those pitches. After about a 45-minute break, she's now back in the game, hoping, Florida fans hoping that she has gained focus and going to be able to attack Beauchamp, who has already hit a home run off of her tonight.
Beauchamp has just 1 2-home run game this year. That was against Nichols. Rothrock, the true freshman, leading the SEC in those important categories.
I mean, most starts, most innings pitched, most wins. She's got 17 complete games under her belt in an era where pitchers rarely go the distance. Yeah, I would take that pitch too. I would prove that Rothrock was going to be able to come back in the zone instead of swinging at something out of it. You know that a 2-0 pitch is a great hitter's pitch, but not when Rothrock had not shown control after entering the circle. Good night. That ball was hit so high it went out of the lights.
So much power for a player listed at only 5'3".
Yeah, but it also gives her a pretty small strike zone too.
2-2. Hit. And not handled by Williams. The inning continues. 2 more runs come in for Florida State.
I won't call it an error because rarely are they called that, but another mishandled ground ball gives Florida State life. I mean, the fans have stuck through this 3-hour game.
That has been called an error on Williams. Kaylee Harding hit a home run off Rothrock earlier in this game.
And you can tell more velocity's coming out of the circle with Rothrock throwing because these hitters are late. They are not getting the barrel out to their contact point. Harding, another hitter that had a home run off of Rothrock earlier this game.
She hits one now. We would be tied. Still just one away. It's 2 runs scored by Florida in the top of this inning on the home run by Otis, looming very large now. Away from Erickson, and that allows Mudge to get down to third, and Beauchamp follows down to second.
I mean, this game reminds me of an early game for Florida State against UCLA where they lost 10-14, but we saw early on in the year that there was going to be a lot of offense put up all across the country.
Harding! Are you kidding? Ties the game with a 3-run shot.
And this just goes to show you how you start a game is not always how you finish based on your behavior, your attitude, and your attack as you go throughout the game. Kaylee Harding's first at bat tonight was a strikeout. What has she done the rest of the way?
Heading into this inning, that is the 6th multi-home run game of Harding's career, 2nd this season. And she hit 2 homers against Charlotte. And I have a feeling she's going to remember this one for a long time.
So one of the tactics we've seen across the country is trying to figure out if a runner leaves early on a home run, it is now a reviewable play. If one of the runners on one of the bases, knowing that they were full, if one of the bases, if they recognize that somebody left early, it would negate the home run and give Florida the advantage. Your job in the dugout, you may be a bench player, a role player for your team, but you always have a responsibility. And my guess is on Florida's squad, everybody had a responsibility looking at one of those base runners to see if anyone was leaving early.
Big call coming. The home run stands, and we are tied. Florida State has scored 9 runs in the last 2 innings. Look at the base runners.
And she can't leave third base until the ball leaves the able to reverse the call or change the call on the field, though. It is now a tie ball game.
Torres, the 8th Seminole to bat in this inning. She has home run power. Crowd breaks into a chant of Isa.
When you look at walk-off potential, Isa Torres is the one to get it done. She had a walk-off home run against NC State. She was the first freshman to hit a walk-off home run since Jessie Warren.
Down 0-2. Won't go after that outside pitch.
She also had a walk-off single against Texas Tech earlier this year. This is a hitter that comes in big in those pressure-filled moments.
Boy, Erickson couldn't squeeze it, so another chance for Torres.
And while this may feel like a marathon game, Pam, this is actually one of those pivotal moments in these young freshman careers that are going to teach so many lessons and pay dividends down the rest of their careers.
2-2. Torres. Thrown out. Pawlowski. Just the second out of the inning. Huge one for Florida as Flaherty comes up. Flaherty hitless tonight. Flaherty, not a power hitter, but if she gets on, Edenfield will bat for the second time in this inning.
Well, this is just a competitive pitch. No fan is going to like that pitch because it's a called strike, but that is a really good spot on the outside part of the plate.
Now the 1-2. Flaherty protects. Devin Flaherty just got hit by a pitch, and that gives Edenfield a chance.
What are the chances, Pam, that you see Edenfield be the difference maker? There were moments after her breaking her finger that we thought maybe she wouldn't be able to come back this season, but the will and the tenacity of this player right here doesn't just give her the chance to bat. We saw her back behind the plate, catching again. Are you kidding me? I mean, this is one of those players that is a difference maker for Florida State, and they love the fight and grit that she shows.
Seminoles have batted around here in their 6th run, 7th inning.
And that's a swing by a player who's pressing, trying to win the game in one swing of the bat. That is not the approach that Edenfield needs to take here. She wants to be the game winner, but her job in this situation is to put a good swing on a mistake by Rothrock.
Took that one for ball 2.
Very good take. That is a much more mature approach Knowing that she loves to swing on the inside part of the plate, I would not expect Rothrock to bring this ball inside at all. She will live on that outside corner or change speeds to disrupt her timing.
Gets it to a 2-2 count. Flaherty, who runs well, is over at first. Edenfield started this 7th inning party with a single to lead off the 7th. Trying to end it. Pops up. Wallace waits. We're going to the 8th. Florida State coming up with 6 runs in the 7th. The big blast, Kaylee, has kept things going here in Tallahassee with her 3-run home run to tie it. And we have set a new record, the most combined runs ever in this series history at 26. The previous record was set back in 1982, 42 years ago, so long ago, Jenny Dalton Hill. That was slow pitch.
That's a lot of runs. Yeah. I've played slow pitch, but it was after I played college ball and professional baseball when, you know, you're supposed to be washed up and just having fun, but I don't know how to just play the game and have fun.
A little bit serious.
A little too serious for that. But this is a ton of runs. But these teams know that this has postseason implications. They're looking to bust RPI numbers and give themselves a chance to host the postseason. Both of them kind of sitting right there on the bubble.
Leah Gooden still in the circle, the freshman facing Ava Brown, another freshman who has pitched tonight and also played in the field. A sold-out crowd. Some people left early and missed the fireworks. Ava Brown sends one out, but Mudge was all over it for the first out of the 8th.
I mean, who doesn't love free softball? We're only 3 hours and 17 minutes into this game. But you got to stay sharp defensively. I think that's maybe where the biggest problem has been in this game is the defense that's been played. Your pitchers are going to give up bat ball. You've got to be able to back them up with defense. And we've had too many miscues here tonight defensively by both teams.
Katie Kistler comes to the plate for the 5th time tonight. Still looking for her first hit. Been a particularly trying week for these athletes. Final exam week, certainly for Florida. Kistler hold up, nope.
Yeah, when we talked to Tim Walton today, he said there were actually players taking finals on the bus on the drive here to Tallahassee. And this is a tough time of the week. You've got finals all week. And these Florida Gators still on. It's going to be a whole lot better ride home if they get on the bus with Tim Walton and a win. You know that they're kicking themselves for letting go of that 6-run lead.
Led by 6 going into the 7th. 2-2 to Kistler. Gloved by Ross, who was put back at first base.
I sure hope you're scoring this game at home in pencil.
First 2 retired by Gooden. Another freshman, Kowalewski, comes up. She scored a couple of times after being walked. Beauchamp, 3 up, 3 down. The first time all night that's happened for Florida. Let's go to the bottom of the back to Tallahassee as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning. All tied up between Florida and Florida State. Janai Kerr has a 2-run home run in this game, and 2 years ago in this very stadium, a very different score, but Kerr was able to hit a home run, a 2-run home run to walk off Florida, and they won 2-1. Takes it high from Rothrock, who came back in, started left, and is now approaching her season and therefore career high in pitches thrown in a game. Bottom of the order, 7, 8, 9, Kerr, Dak, and Ross due up.
I'm just so impressed with the receiving talent that Jocelyn Erickson is back there behind the plate. I love the strength of that receive, and that's one of the things that puts her on the U.S. national team, that ability to just be so strong with velocity coming into the glove.
3-1 on the way with Dak on deck. Just got a part of the plate, according to Anthony Small.
And that's a pitch that is bought by Erickson back there behind the plate to show that there's consistency coming out of the circle by Rothrock.
No full count. Wallace had to hurry and got it over in time to retire Kerr for the first out of the 8th. Rothrock with 135 pitches. That is a new career high for her. Dak has a couple of hits tonight. Goes after the first pitch. Pistler grabs it. Route number 2. Nice running catch.
Well, and here's the defense we've been expecting all night. Very tight here at the end of the game for Florida. Last inning just got away from them. I mean, a 6-run lead should be a comfortable lead in our sport.
Used to be. Oh, Maya Ross, the number 9 hitter, tripled in her first at bat. Ross gets on. We'll go to the top of the lineup for Florida State. The Seminoles, by the way, also in finals week. So both schools going through that, and now this marathon game against one of their bitter rivals. Ross calls time and gets it. Florida State has not been retired in order all night. Florida hadn't either until the top of the 8th. Fisted, caught by Wallace. 1-2-3 inning for Rothrock. We move on to the 9th. 2 teams as we go to the top of the 9th inning. Sold out Joanne Graff Field in Tallahassee. Pam Ward and Jenny Dalton Hill joining you in a game that started just under 3.5 hours ago. And We're going to keep on going, Jenny, until we have a winner.
Hey, I'm all about it because I don't play to tie. That's not how this rolls. I need a winner, I need a loser, and I need lessons learned because this is not something you want to see duplicated in the postseason. Yes, it's great fight shown by both teams, but you need to see better defense, more competitive pitches, no losing focus in the circle. I mean, the hitters have been able to capitalize on mistakes. The pitchers have struggled to stay competitive from start to finish.
We have a pinch hitter, Barnard, in to hit for Mia Williams, who was hitless in her 4 plate appearances, did reach on an error and got hit by a pitch. Florida State scored 6 runs in the 7th inning to tie it. Send us into extras. Bailey Harding with the home run to tie it, and there's a strikeout of the pinch hitter to start the 9th.
Well, I understand why you bring Barnard in that situation to hit. She had just 3 hits on the season in her 20 at-bats. All 3 were for extra bases. However, the other plate appearances were either a walk or a strikeout. So, great start for the inning. Great start to the inning by Mimi Gooden.
Second strikeout for Gooden. Falby gone. Kendra Falby, the leadoff hitter, has been ridiculous tonight. The solo home run puts him back on top. That is her 5th hit of the evening.
Kendra Falby is saying, I know you just put out the SEC Players of the Week, but let me show you that I deserve to have my name called next week in a 13-13 ball game in the 9th, and absolutely demolishes that pitch to put Florida on top. Her first home run of the year.
What a time to get it. Her 5 hits, a new career high in any game. Now Otis, who hit a 2-run home run back in the 7th in what looked to be a hit that gave them a comfortable 6-run lead going into the bottom of the 7th, until Florida State turned that around. Gooden has been in this game since the 5th inning. The 4th Florida State pitcher that Lonnie Alameda has used tonight. Otis ahead 3-1. Takes it high. Or the home run, followed by a walk.
Well, Mimi Gooden is typically known for drop, curve, screw, and a really good changeup. So she usually fills the bottom of the zone. But what you're seeing is some elevated pitches. You don't typically see home runs hit off Mimi Gooden. She had only given up 1 home run coming into this appearance tonight.
And then gave one up to Falby, who had not hit one all year. A walk to Otis, the 3rd surrendered by Gooden, but the 1st since the 5th inning.
Well, the Otis home run was hit off of Gooden as well, right?
Let's see.
It was back
So we
in the
look at
7th inning.
hieroglyphics that have become our scorebook. What was your question? Otis? Yeah, hit it off good. Nice.
So,
True fact.
true fact. So, she's been elevating her pitches a little bit too much. Known to roll a ton of ground balls, Gooden has left the ball a little too high here tonight.
And actually, that walk given up by Gooden was the very first for her. Skylar Wallace has an RBI and a sac fly, but no base hits. Turned on it. Just a remarkable year last year, winning the SEC Player of the Year. Tied with the great Kelsey Stewart for the most stolen bases in SEC history. But she's not had an opportunity to break it tonight. Right through the 5-6 hole. And running all the way and getting to third. Good base running by Otis.
Yeah.
Otis is, first hit of the night.
Apologies, Pam. Yeah, Otis has great wheels. I mean, she's got 12 stolen bases on the year, and the way that Florida runs the bases, as soon as it touches the grass, they are looking to take 2 bags. And when Otis takes off on this one, she knows that it's going deep into the outfield, which is going to give her a chance to make that turn and go. Touch the bag, pick up your coach with just 1 out.
And Jocelyn Erickson. A couple of hits, including a 2-run home run back in the 4th inning. And there's the stolen base as Wallace goes down to second.
And now it should be a stolen base. Just because it was uncontested doesn't mean that she didn't get it. And so that right there is a huge stolen base for Florida and Skylar Wallace as she now surpasses Kelsey Stewart.
Historic. What a career. Skylar Wallace, who started her career at Alabama, finishing up at Florida with 114 career stolen bases. An SEC record, gets herself into scoring position because no lead is safe against Florida State. They have proven that tonight, coming back from 6 down in the 7th to tie it. Tim Walton going to play for as many runs as he can right now, and he's got Erickson up. So, all right, you're Florida State, you have first base open and Erickson's up. Walsh is on deck. What do you do?
I put her on because Walsh has been relieved for Gels, who came in the last at bat and is still in the lineup. So Gels is actually the one sitting on deck. So I would walk Erickson and make Gels prove herself. She has not gotten on tonight. It was a fly ball out to left in her last at bat, and she's got just a 179 average coming into here tonight.
And they are putting her on, and you don't see this very often in softball. It's like a baseball intentional walk with, yes, that's Edenfield behind the plate.
Well, and it is a softball intentional walk as well. I mean, I know you just called it a baseball intentional walk, but that's the exact same thing that we do in our game too. Is
You just don't see it very often.
No, many coaches do not use it. They actually try to go right at a hitter, but more often than not, it bites them. We've seen people throw to Jocelyn Allo, for crying out loud, in the postseason for no reason.
Allison Royalty started this game 3.5 hours ago. She's coming back in. Started and lasted an inning and a third. Gave up 4 runs, only 2 of them earned, comes back in. Only threw 43 pitches. She relieves Mimi Gooden, who threw 51 in just over 4 innings of work. She is responsible for all 3 runners on base.
And Allison Royalty has had a chance to come out, have a snack. I mean, I think it was 2 hours ago that she pitched. So for her, she's coming back in. She only threw an inning and a third. able to regain composure, find focus, and have to go back at the Gators, who have the 1-run lead.
It is Walsh at the plate. Bases are loaded. Two-0 pitch. Good stop by Edenfield, keeping in front of her. Came in to catch the 7th inning.
All right, Pam, let me teach you a little bit. Bases loaded, 1 out, 3-0 count. Do not swing.
Never?
Do not swing.
You wouldn't?
No.
She didn't swing. It was inside and forced in a run. Otis, who walked, comes in from third. Wallace, who singled and stole a base, is now over at third. Erickson, who was intentionally walked, is at second. And now here's Ava Brown. Beauchamp steps on the bag and then air mails it. Good job by Ross over there at first to get on the bag and end the inning with the double play. But 2 runs for Florida this last week, and this is a football-like score. Florida with 2 runs in the top of the 9th, leading Florida State now by 2.
I mean, we've got 4 touchdowns. Each team's missed a PAT, and one went
Maybe
for a 2-point conversion.
so.
But
It's just been wacky. And there you see it.
and
That's
it's
a
so
lot of numbers,
even.
Jennifer.
It's so even. That's the crazy part. But it comes down to scoring with, or hitting with runners in scoring position, and those risk numbers not as high as each coach would like to see them, especially as we sit in the 10th inning.
This is where it's the 9th inning. Just feels like
Well,
the 10th. This
feels
is
like the
where Florida
50th
State
inning.
would want to be with the top of the lineup up. Mudge, Beauchamp, Harding.
And this part of the lineup has been so good tonight. 3 home runs within these 3 hitters, 2 of them by Kaylee Harding.
That's just trying to get on base to represent the tying run. An RBI single in that 6-run 7th inning. Rothrock, the starter, put back into the game in the 7th.
Well, and that's what we're seeing is both of these teams now going with their starters in relief here at the end of this game. Florida trying to walk out of here with a win.
Much gloved, hit right at Kalabowski.
They don't call it the hot corner for nothing. Look at the way those cat-like reflexes are going on over there at third base. You cannot take any pitches off when you've got this kind of firepower at the plate for Florida State here at the top of the lineup, and Kalabowski capitalizes.
True freshman over there playing at third, and now here's the true for Florida State. Disney Beauchamp hit a home run her first time up. Thrown an error in the 7th. Short center field, pops in for a 1-out single.
Well, and I see so many big hitters come to the plate, and the outfield plays like they can defend the home run. They play deep with heels back on the warning track. And so a hitter like Beauchamp, who gets sawed off and just gets a jam job out to the outfield, it goes down as a hit because the outfield is playing them so deep because of the power that they've been able to show in the day.
Well, Kaylee Harding tied it up the last time she was up, back in the 7th inning. She has 2 home runs on the night. Here comes Tim Walton.
There's a home run back in the 7th. Not just a home run, Pam. This one, you know, grand salami. That was a huge hit. It tied up the game at 13. Pushed us to extras, and their Kat Sandercock in the black hat trying to give her Knowles a little oomph to try to put 3 runs on the board this inning. You do not want to elevate the ball to Harding. Expect to see this ball down at the knees, on the corners. Maybe even a little bit of a change of speed to keep Harding from going yard again.
She has a 2-0. Stings it into center. Hunted down, and then the throw over to first, and they got Beauchamp to double her off and end the game. Heads up play by Falvey and Florida in the wins it. They have now won 40 games on the season. They play A&M this weekend. I want to thank our crew for hanging in there over a long but good night. Great night for Florida.